They told her to step aside in front of everyone, not quietly, not gently. The words landed like a slap, echoing across the training grounds as dust hung in the air and 100 hardened eyes turned toward her, waiting for her to break. She didn't. She stood still, jaw tight, hands trembling just enough to betray the storm inside her. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're rewatching from. I love knowing who's listening. Commander Alina Ward had learned long ago that doubt had a sound. It was the low murmur that followed her footsteps, the pause before a salute, now the half smile that said, "You don't belong here." She had carried that sound with her from her first day in uniform to this moment, standing at the edge of a Navy SEAL evaluation course reserved for legends and ghosts. No woman had ever completed it. No outsider had ever shattered its record. The man who spoke, Captain Harlan, had not raised his voice. He didn't need to. Authority clung to him like a second skin. "This course isn't symbolic," he said, eyes cold. "Ice. It's designed to break commanders who think rank replaces endurance." Alina felt the heat of the sun on her neck, the weight of years pressing against her ribs. She thought of the nights she'd spent alone in training facilities long after lights out, pushing her body until her vision blurred. She thought of the men she'd buried, the orders she'd given that had saved some and cost others. Leadership had taught her one cruel truth. You don't get to prove yourself once. You do it every day. "Understood," she said quietly. The course stretched ahead like a challenge carved into the earth. Mud pits gleamed dark and hungry. Steel bars rose like ribs from the ground. Ropes swayed gently in the breeze, whispering promises of failure. The crowd gathered along the perimeter, SEALs, instructors. Medics, men who had faced combat without flinching, now watching with open skepticism. The horn sounded. Alina launched forward.
Oh.
The first obstacles were meant to humble. Weighted crawls that crushed the lungs, walls slick with sweat and failure. She moved with controlled urgency, breath measured, muscles burning, but obedient. Mud soaked into her sleeves, cold and heavy. But she didn't slow. Somewhere behind her, someone laughed. It cut sharper than the pain. Halfway through, her arms began to shake. This was the moment that broke most candidates, the moment when pride whispered enough. Alina's mind drifted, uninvited, to the letter she'd never sent to her younger sister, the one who used to ask why Alina never came home for holidays. "Because someone has to stand here," she'd wanted to say. "Even if they don't want me." A slip. Her boot slid on wet steel. The crowd inhaled as one. She caught herself by instinct alone, fingers screaming as they clenched the bar. For a second, she dangled there, suspended between gravity and will. The easy choice was to drop. Regulations allowed it. No shame in failing a course designed to be impossible. But then she heard it again. "Step aside, Commander." Something hardened in her chest. She pulled. Time stretched strangely after that. She no longer registered the faces, only the rhythm of movement and breath. Up, over, through. Her hands tore. Blood mixed with mud. The world narrowed to the next hold, the next step. Pain became background noise, like rain against a roof. At the final segment, the most brutal of all, Captain Harlan checked his watch. The record stood untouched for nearly 2 decades, time etched into plaques and stories. No one even whispered about breaking it anymore. Alina stumbled once, knees buckling as exhaustion crashed over her. A medic shifted forward, ready. The crowd leaned in. Some shook their heads, already certain of the ending. She knelt in the dirt, chest heaving, dust clinging to her sweat-streaked face. Shh. In that stillness, doubt crept close, gentle and dangerous. What if they're right, it asked. What if leadership has limits? She thought of the soldiers who had trusted her, the families who had looked to her for answers. If she quit now, it wouldn't just be her failure, it would echo. Alina stood. The final run was a blur of grit and resolve. Her legs screamed in protest, every step an argument against physics, against reason. When she crossed the line, she didn't hear the horn at first. Then the silence broke. Not cheers. Yet. Captain Harlan stared at his watch, then back at her, disbelief cracking his composure. He cleared his throat. "Cord," he said slowly. By nearly 2 minutes, the stillness shattered. Applause rolled in, hesitant at first, then unstoppable. Some men nodded. Others stared at the ground, reconsidering old assumptions. A few smiled openly, pride softening their features. Alina swayed, caught by the medic's steady hands, vision swimming as reality caught up to her body. Captain Harlan stepped forward. The same man who had told her to step aside now stood at attention. His salute was crisp, undeniable. "Commander Ward," he said, voice firm, "the course is yours." In that moment, the victory felt heavier than triumph. It felt like responsibility. She met his gaze, not with defiance, but with understanding. Change didn't come from humiliation. It came from endurance. Later, as the crowd thinned and the sun dipped low, a young recruit approached her, eyes wide. "Ma'am," he said, nervous but earnest. "I didn't think, won't forget this." Elena smiled, small and tired. "Neither will I, 'cause courage isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. Survives, quietly, until the moment it's needed most." And as the dust settled over the course that day, the place where she had been told to step aside became the place she stepped forward instead. Because respect isn't given when you ask for it, it's earned when you refuse to disappear. And the doubt that once echoed across those grounds faded, replaced by something steadier. It's the sound of belief finding its way back. If this story moved you, share your thoughts below. Your voice matters here. And if you believe quiet strength can change the world, subscribe and stay with us for more stories whispered, but never forgotten.